We are ready to go for Game 2 of this WPF doubleheader. And coming up, it is the reigning champion Texas Smoke trying to extend their winning streak to 9 in a row as they take on the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave here at Texas State's Bobcat Softball Stadium. Coming to you from the official WPF YouTube channel from beautiful San Marcos, Texas, Brant Freeman alongside Haley McKay. And again, Haley, the champs right now, are on a roll, 11-1 start. They've won 8 straight to include a dominant 7-1 win last night over the Tidal Wave.
The Texas Smoke just picking up right where they left off after winning the WPF last year. Their last 2 wins have been come from behind victories. The Coastal Bend Tidal Wave had them on the ropes yesterday, but they gave up the lead late in the ball game. Texas Smoke able to find a way to win. Jessica Mullins picking up the victory in that game for the Smoke, and the Smoke is here again, ready to roll.
In the circle tonight for the Smoke, it is Jayla Wright, the ACC Pitcher of the Year in 2024 for the Duke Blue Devils. And Wright's, in her last appearance, 3 innings worked against Hub City this past Sunday, struck out 5 and got the win. And she gets to start tonight here for the host, Texas Smoke. As we look now at the lineup for the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave, leading off is Grace Chellerman in right field, followed by Tate Whitley and Tatum Anzaldo, who had the only run of the game for the Tidal Wave last night, hitting a solo homer in the 4th inning. Hitters 4, 5, and 6, Trinity Cannon, the ex-Texas A&M star, followed by Kelly Lynch and Julia Jimenez. Bottom third of the order, hitters 7, 8, and 9, Rylan Wiggins, Reagan Glanz, and Malaysia Ochoa. Smoke in these brand new neon yellow uniforms designed by the daughter of Smoke team owner Brandon Phillips. And we are underway. Strike 1 from Wright starts Game 2 of today's doubleheader.
You certainly can't miss the Texas Smoke in these very bright. I'm not sure if it's neon yellow or green. It kind of changes depending on the light you look at it, but you're not going to miss them, that's for sure.
Either way, it's safe to run at night wearing these uniforms.
What was that?
I said either way, it's safe to run at night with these uniforms.
Yes.
Leadoff batter Grace Chellerman facing off against Jayla Wright. Coastal Bend comes into the game with a record of 4-8. And they are now 2.5 games back of the Monarchs for second place in the WPF standings. Meanwhile, the Smoke all alone in first place at 11-1. 4.5 games ahead of the Monarchs for first. A ball and 2 strikes to Chellerman. Swing and a miss, and a strikeout starts tonight.
What a beautiful drop ball from Jayla Wright. She has such tight downspin, late breaking movement. It's so tough to lay off that pitch because it starts at your knees and it looks like it's going to be a called strike. But if the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave wants to hit the ball hard tonight at all off of Jayla Wright, they have to lay off of pitches that start at their knees.
Brings up Tate Whitley, 0 for 3 with a strikeout last night. Nobody on, 1 away, top of the first, just underway between the Smoke and Tidal Wave. A ground ball got by Wright, scooped up by Espinosa. The second baseman, 2 up and 2 down.
Jayla Wright going to that drop ball again against Tate Whitley. Induces a miss-hit ground ball out of it. Good job by Jayla Wright coming out, trying to field her position, understanding that's a slow developing play. Unable to cut it off, but Silent Rain Espinosa over at second base doing a good job of having her back, charging hard, and able to get Tate Whitley in time.
Tatum Anzaldo, the product from Cal, a former Golden Bear out of the Pac-12. Steps in and swings and misses, strike 1. So the Tidal Wave, with the loss yesterday, dropping the record of 4-8, and against the Smoke 0-5. Have yet to solve this team this year. Got a series win over the Monarchs and split 4 games against Hub City. That's strike 2 to Anzaldo, 0-2. The offense only 1 run yesterday off the Anzaldo solo homer. And for the Tidal Wave, just 2 runs scored over the last 2 games. Battle here between the ACC and the Pac-12, and I guess you could say now ACC for both. Cal officially members of the ACC as of 11 days ago.
We're going to need a bingo card, cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it, for all of the conference realignments starting this fall.
The Pac-12, as we know, it has died down to a Pac-2, Washington State and Oregon State. 4 teams to the Big Ten, 4 to the Big 12, and 2 to the ACC.
Or you can have a broadcast partner like Brant, and he'll just tell you all the realignments, because you always seem to know all the facts. Keep them all straight.
Yep. And didn't even have to look at a cheat sheet there either, by the way.
That I can confirm. I will have your back on that. He knew that straight from the brain.
Winning on deck, Trinity Cannon. And Jayla Wright trying to start off the game with a 1-2-3 frame. As Anzondo fouls off that pitch. Tatum Anzondo again at Cal. Productive final year with the Golden Bears in 2024. Top 5 of the Pac-12. Batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, hits, and stolen bases. Helped lead the Bears to the Baton Rouge Regional.
Ansaldo is battling against that drop ball from Jayla Wright really hard in this at-bat. He's done a good job of getting it to a full count, fouling off a couple tough pitches. We've only seen 2.5 batters so far in this game, but all 3 batters for the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave have been in the middle or the back of the box, and I'm curious to see how that will play out for their approach as this game continues on, if they'll be able to adjust to that drop ball or if they'll decide to move up in the box.
Espinosa makes another play at second base, and it is a 1-2-3 first for Jayla Wright. We head to the bottom of the first inning, just underway in San Marcos. Smoke coming back for the first time when we come back after this. Well, we reference these brand new uniforms for the Smoke. We'll talk more about that in a second. As first we take a look at Haley Archer. Speaking of Cal, Archer also spent her time playing softball in Berkeley this year with Cal, a 3.01 ERA in over 120 innings and a career-high 96 strikeouts. She takes a circle here for the Tidal Wave as we go to the bottom of the first of the scoreless game. And coming up to bat for the Smoke, it is Tyler Rain Espinosa. Leading off should be followed by Morgan Howe and Jazz Hill. Middle third of the order, Charlotte Eccles, Elizabeth Mason, and Jada Cody. Hitters 7, 8, and 9, Manny Perez, Anna Marie Bruni, and Denver Bryant for a team playing for a 9th consecutive win. A 1-2-3 top of the first for Jayla Wright, and now the Smoke batting for the first time. Offensively scored in just 1 inning last night. What an inning it was. 7 runs scored at the bottom of the 6th. Second straight come from behind win for the Smoke. You look at the last 2 games, they've scored 15 runs, 14 have come in the 6th inning or later.
Good teams always find a way to win when their back's against the wall. And when you're scoring 14 of your last 15 runs in the last 2 innings, 6th or 7th or even beyond, you're putting yourself in a good position to just never say die.
Espinosa takes strike 1 from Archer. Southern Rain Espinosa from Alpine, California was 1 for 4 yesterday and had one of the big hits in that big sixth inning, a bases clearing double. And it broke at the time a 1-1 tie. That misses outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Spent all 5 of her seasons playing at Washington. Wrapped up her Huskies career in 2023. That ball into center field, bounces in front of Ochoa for a leadoff base hit for Espinosa.
Good job by Ochoa to keep that line drive in front of her off the bat of Silent Rain Espinosa. The balls hit right at you as an outfielder, always the hardest to judge because you can't get a good read on the depth perception. I thought Ochoa might try to lay out for it, but smart decision to keep it in front of you, stay on your feet, and avoid turning that single into extra bases.
The other big hit in that 7-run six was courtesy of Morgan Howe. Batting now, hit a 2-run homer as a part of that 7-run frame. Howe, her second year with this franchise, but has been playing professionally for a while now. Morgan Howe now 26 years old. Last year's WPF Offensive Player of the Year, drove in 31 runs and hit .342. Had an OPS over 1,000.
I just love watching Morgan Howe in the box. She's such a still yet intimidating presence at the same time. So calm, but you can just see how much power she possesses. And every time she goes to swing, you can just feel the momentum that she gives her offense. Even if she doesn't record a hit per se, she's just such an imposing presence in the box.
Here's a fly ball to center, going back. Ochoa looks, and it's gone. So now 2 homers for Morgan Howe in the series and back-to-back at-bats and the smoke strike for an early 2-0 lead.
Morgan Howe just doing what Morgan Howe does in a pitcher's count, but got a pitch she can handle. Takes an aggressive swing on a good pitch. You can just see how quick her barrel gets through the zone. She doesn't even get all of this, and it still hits off the top of the canopy out there in left center field. Just absolutely crushed.
We made the comment in the earlier game today in which there were a lot of home runs hit between the Hub City Adelitas and the Texas Monarchs. The wind really isn't blowing out that much at all. Wind at about 9 miles an hour, that's about it. But not much humidity. With that, the ball is just flying off the bat right now. Earlier today, the Adelitas homered twice in the Monarchs' 9-5 win. The Monarchs homered 3 times. The Park playing very offensive today.
And it seems like that left center gap or alley, there just seems to kind of be a wind tunnel. You get the ball up in the air with enough juice on it, it just seems to keep carrying anytime it gets in the air.
And there, look at the American and Texas flags here at Texas State's Bobcat Softball Stadium. Blowing out a little bit out towards left as Jazz Hill bats. Takes a strike, 1-1 to Hill. 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI last night. Helped lead the Texas A&M Aggies to the Super Regionals this year against Texas. And really has been one of the hotter bats at the plate for the Smoke over the past couple of weekends. Last week in the series against Hub City, Hill 5 for 7 with a homer and doubled 3 times. So now she is 7 for her last 11 at the plate. And ahead here, 3-1 against Haley Archer.
Haley Archer has found herself in a tough spot here early in this game. Giving up 2 hits, down 2 runs, courtesy of the home run of Morgan Howe. Now she's behind again here to the 3-hole. Good pitch right there, nicely located on the corner. We mentioned this in the first game. Even the balls that were on the corner earlier, in the first game that were left up were just hit so hard. And we're already seeing that here in the second game too. Anything that's on the plate and elevated at all has just been crushed by these veteran hitters.
Full count to Hill. Ground ball to the right side, handled by Cannon. That's the first out here of the inning. And one away will bring up Charlotte Eccles for a Smoke team, which again has won 8 in a row. During this 8-game winning streak, the Smoke have outscored their opponents 70-16.
That one tells me the offense is on a roll, but it also speaks volumes about the pitching of the Texas Smoke to be able to keep your opponents off the board, make quality pitches, keep the ball down in the zone. That last spot from Archer to get Jazz Hill to ground out to second base are the kind of location she needs to hit if she wants to find success tonight against these professional hitters.
Smoke team playing with a lot of confidence and swagger right now. Out to an 11-1 start. Only loss opening weekend in the series finale against the Monarchs. 2 balls, no strikes to Charlotte Eccles, who walked 3 times in yesterday's win. That's popped up in the infield. Coming in is Ryland Wiggins from second, and the former Aggie makes the catch. Strike for the homer, hit by Morgan Howe. 2 up and 2 down for Haley Archer.
Good adjustment by Archer, hitting much better spots against Jazz Hill and Charlotte Eccles to induce the ground out and the pop-up respectively.
Strike 1, pumped in by Archer, facing Elizabeth Mason. Had a 3-for-3 game yesterday. Mason playing catcher in the series opener. At first base today. Again, there are 2 huge bats not in the lineup for the Smoke this week. Today, Jefferson and Savannah Jaquish, who usually played second and catcher respectively. Those 2 representing Team USA, the national team, playing in Italy this weekend. And we talked about this during last night's broadcast, Haley. It speaks to the depth of this team that even without, perennial potential Olympians, that the Smoke can still put up numbers like they did.
Oh, absolutely. And it's worth noting for those that aren't as familiar with softball and the Olympic stage, softball will not be in Paris 2024, but it is right now slated to be in 2028. So these Team USA athletes are trying to compete to earn their spot for another 4 years from now.
1 inning in the books, and the Smoke have a 2-0 lead after Morgan Howe goes deep for a second consecutive day. That 2-run bomb has put the Smoke on top, 2-0. We go to the second. Here in San Marcos. Again, a brand new set of threads unveiled by the Smoke here tonight, wearing these brand new neon-style uniforms to go along with their red and black color motif. And the designer of these particular uniforms is the daughter of team owner Brandon Phillips, former major leaguer. There she is in the blue t-shirt. And again, had a hand in designing these uniforms for her dad's team. So very special father-daughter moment there. And dad's team is on top 2-0 as we go to the top of the seconds, courtesy of a Morgan Howe 2-run homer. And Jayla Wright in the circle, second inning of work. Got through the top of the order in the first. First batter of the inning, Trinity Cannon with a ground ball, handled by Wright, who's gone 4 up and 4 down.
If I'm a hitter on the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave right now, it's no secret that Jayla Wright is going to use her drop ball as her go-to pitch. So your two options as a hitter in that situation are scoot up in the box and try to hit it before it breaks, or scoot all the way to the back and you have to lay off anything below your knees. Right now it looks like the Tidal Wave hitters are almost getting stuck in the middle. They're not quite in the front, but they're not really in the back of the box. So it'll be interesting to see what adjustments they decide to make, because there haven't been many hard hit balls or successful at-bats thus far. And it is early in the ball game, but Jayla Wright has definitely established a pattern in the circles, so it's going to come down to who's going to adjust first.
Again, Wright just wrapped up her great college career with Duke. Blue Devils going to the College World Series in Oklahoma City. Extending her playing career to the pro ranks, and will also stay involved in the college game. Just last week announced she would be joining the coaching staff at Tennessee as a grad assistant in Knoxville. Ground ball through the left side for a base hit for Kelly Lynch. Lynch coming off kind of a tough opener. 0 for 3 at the plate, and in the circle gave up 5 earned runs in that 6th inning. Gets a 1-out base hit here.
Good job by Kelly Lynch. Gets a pitch up about belt high, and again, too much white part of the plate, and these hitters are making pitchers pay across all 4 teams here tonight. It's not just exclusive to one lineup or one pitcher that's making mistakes. Anytime there's a pitch that's been left over the white that's elevated, it's been hit hard.
Runner on, 1 out for Julia Jimenez. And a 2-0 game, and ahead early here, a ball to no strikes. Jimenez from Fontana, California. Just wraps up her career in Utah. Her best season with the Utes came in 2023. That year, 343 homered 10 times, named second team All Pac-12. And Utah that year won 42 games and themselves wound up playing in the World Series.
I remember watching that Utah team make the Cinderella run of sorts to the Women's College World Series, because they weren't one of the favorites, but they just played with so much joy, really just ruthless, hard to put away. There wasn't one player that I remember that was really a superstar, but just truly a team effort and so much fun to watch.
It's a foul ball for strike 1. It's funny, you think about, Pac-12 softball, at least what we knew to be the Pac-12, and, you think of UCLA, and it certainly stands out. Stanford in the year that they had, this year. Washington has historically been good. Oregon's had been good as well. When Mike White was there before. Texas didn't really hear a whole lot, about Utah, but really put themselves on the map last year.
Yeah, very much so. The history of the Pac-12, Washington, another one that's always seems to be talked about. It's wild and a little bit sad if you're a softball fan to just think about how much history that conference has in our sport, and for it to just kind of blink and it's gone.
Yeah.
Just seems like there wasn't quite enough closure there, I feel like, for softball fans.
It was just so sudden.
Yeah.
The dominoes fell in the conference so quickly. The first set of dominoes that affected realignment was Texas and Oklahoma, but that was 2 years ago. But it was shortly after Texas and OU made their announcement that USC and UCLA made theirs. Swing and a miss, and second strikeout of the night for Jayla Wright. Jimenez goes down swinging. And so when that happened, it impacted the Pac-12 and made everybody say, how far is this going to go with realignment? Right. But then it was kind of the death blow when Washington and Oregon both decided to follow suit with the Bruins and Trojans. Shortly thereafter, the moves, those 4 teams to the Big 12, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. And then with the Pac-12 down to 4 teams, it was Stanford and Cal saying, where do we go? Well, they're going to the ACC along with SMU. Make it make sense, Haley.
I wish I could. What scares me for sports outside of football, maybe baseball and basketball, is just how is this going to impact the student-athlete experience? Because playing sports in college at any level is already challenging. But then you're going to add in cross-country travel weekend after weekend, year after year. And realigning a conference is not a one-year thing. I mean, these universities sign multi-year deals to realign and, you know, join the SEC, for example. And there's so many implications with money, and I'm sure there's reasons and opportunity. But at the end of the day, you have to have student-athletes that want to play for your program in order to have a team. And I just fear that these conference realignments are going to make it really hard on some student-athletes. And no student-athlete experience is perfect, but I just wonder if it's going to hurt schools like Stanford and Cal, who have now joined the ACC, and they're traveling East Coast to West Coast and back every single weekend to compete.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Rylan Wiggins facing off against Wrights. The former Texas A&M Aggie Rylan Wiggins out of Wiley, Texas, was 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout in the series opener last night. The runner, Kelly Lynch, at first base, had the 1-out single. Ground ball up the middle. Espinosa covers the ground and makes the easy flip to Bryant at the bag at second to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Jalen Wright has held the Tidal Wave scoreless through 2. It's 2-0. Smoke the lead over the Tidal Wave. The owner of the champion Texas Smoke is right there. Brandon Phillips, what a great big league career he had. He was first drafted by the Montreal Expos back in 1999. Tells you how long he was involved in the game at a professional level. His career starts drafted by the Expos, wraps up just 6 years ago in 2018 with the eventual champion Boston Red Sox, and now team owner of both the Texas Smoke and the Texas Monarchs. And again, his franchise winning last year's inaugural WPF championship. We go to the top of the bottom rather, the second inning in the Smoke. On top 2-0. His team playing well again this year. Out to an 11-1 start. So an interesting note, by the way, about Brandon Phillips. He became the first player in big league history to record 2 3-run homers, 7 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases in one game. Following that performance, donated his uniform and a pair of cleats to be put on display at the Baseball Hall of Fame.
That kind of sounds like the definition of being in the right place at the right time. That's crazy. Just the fact that you have that many scoring opportunities as a hitter in one game. Oh, and by the way, you're going to get on 2 more times and steal 2 more bases. What can't you do, you know?
Power and speed for Phillips in his big league career. And by the way, Phillips never played for the Expos. Got his big league start with Cleveland in 2002. Ground ball up the middle from Jada Cody. Wiggins, a good play at second base. And 1 away here in the second inning.
Rylan Wiggins, my goodness. This is not an easy play to make at all, especially because she didn't go to her backhand. Ranging all the way to her right, almost behind second base. Keeps it in front of her, makes a strong throw over to first base. Makes it look easy, but I can guarantee you it's not.
Now to the plate, Manny Perez, the DH, puts the bunt down and pushes it foul. So I mentioned that Phillips, drafted by the Expos but never played for them for the parent club anyway. He was dealt to Cleveland, and some of the players involved in that trade, notable big leaguers, Grady Sizemore, Cliff Lee, Bartolo Colon, all a part of that trade that involved Brendan Phillips. A lot of times those trades you hear, players to be named later and guys who never make a name for themselves. Well, most of the players in that trade went on to have great careers.
This fact is making me feel like I need you on my trivia team.
Okay.
Because I just feel like the things that you know about factoids and players, and especially sports, I'm choosing Brant for my trivia team.
Anytime I go to a trivia night, I am begging for the next set of questions to be sports. And then it ends up being geography.
Can't win them all.
And there was one recently, it was a Harry Potter question, and that is not my forte.
Oh, see, we make a good team because I love Harry Potter.
There you go.
So
it was, maybe you know this off the top of your head. What does OWL stand for?
Owl.
Right, but what in the Harry Potter universe, what does that acronym mean? I think OWLS, there's an S in there too. It's 4 letters.
This is one of those moments where you know it and someone else is going to say it and then you feel dumb because I know this, but I can't.
By the way, I don't remember. I know our trivia team got it, but it was over my head. Perez, a chopper to third. Jimenez with the throw to first base. 2 up and 2 down for Archer. You're at the bottom of the second.
I will report back on the answer.
Okay, all right. So with the bases empty and 2 down, here comes Anna Marie Bruni. Bruni's been red hot for the Smoke as of late. Bruni in the series against Hub City last week, 5-5, and doubled and scored last night. A player that also runs her own softball training business, Anna Marie Bruni.
I think it's so special that these athletes not only have the opportunity to play after college, but so many of them continue to invest in the game, whether it's giving lessons, hosting clinics, talking about the mental game.
As Bruni beats out an infield base hit.
Interesting developing play there. Trinity Cannon, I thought was going to be able to have a play on this ball, but it bounced too high over her head. Not much she's able to do. And Rylan Wiggins is there to pick up the ball, but with too much speed from Bruni running down the line, she's able to beat it out.
2-out base hit brings up Denver Bryant. And like Charla Eccles walked 3 times last night, Bryant keeps the bat on her shoulder here, and the stolen base attempt is successful for Bruni.
What a close play at second base. Bruni got a great jump, and I thought off the bat it wasn't even going to be close at all. But great job by Reagan Glanz behind the plate to make this a bang-bang play.
You know, if that throw was on the first base side of the bag as opposed to right kind of down the middle of second, then maybe that's an out.
Yep. Look how close that was on the replay.
Yeah.
Tag went down right between her hands. Great slide from Bruni.
And I'm not faulting Glanz for a bad throw. That was a good throw.
And she didn't get a great pitch to throw off of either. It was away from her throwing arm. Kind of had to cross her body a little bit.
Bryant ahead, 3 balls and no strikes. Denver Bryants from Albany, Georgia, helped lead the South Carolina Gamecocks to the NCAA tournament this year. Before that, 3 years at Auburn. Swing and a miss on 3-0, 3-1. Bryant spent a good chunk of her youth playing baseball. Joined the U.S. Women's National Baseball Program in 2017.
I give Bryant a lot of credit because switching from the raised mound to then a flat ground underhand delivery.
Yep.
I've never done it, but it does not sound like something that's easy to do.
It's a tough adjustment. You know, there have been times you've seen baseball players take a challenge of trying to get a hit off a softball pitcher. Can't do it.
Well, if you think about it, There's nothing in baseball that has upspin because everything's coming at a down angle. It's pretty gravity defying if somebody could pull that off, unless you're throwing from a really, really low arm slot, but it's not going to replicate something like a rise ball. So a lot of the times, the videos that I've seen of baseball players trying to attack a fast pitch pitcher, they're just blown away by the movement that softball pitchers can get in such a short distance too. Baseball's a much further distance. Granted, they throw harder, so it's not a huge difference in terms of reaction time, but just a completely different approach and strategy.
Haley Archer full count here against Denver Bryant, trying to get out of the inning unscathed after the Smoke put up 2 in the first. Full count to Bryant, top of the order, awaiting on deck. Takes ball 4, walks for the 4th time in as many at-bats in the series.
Good at bat by Denver Bryant. You saw her chuckling with her coach after she swung and missed at the 3-0 pitch. All those walks kind of piling up. She said, if I got a chance, I'm going to swing. But it worked out in her favor, able to draw the walk in the end.
2 on, 2 out for Silent Rain Espinosa. Scored off the homer hit by Howe, who awaits on deck back in the first inning. And again, Espinosa starting at second base in place of the absent Janae Jefferson. In there for strike 1 and 1. Have to imagine not the first time Archer and Espinosa have faced off. Talked about these two both playing in the Pac-12. Although Espinosa's career ended at the end of last year, Archer 4 years at Cal. And so their careers overlap for about 3 seasons at their respective stops.
I sometimes find it harder to hit off of pitchers that you know well because it's easy to start guessing. And anytime you start guessing in an at-bat, it gets really difficult.
Good attempt at shortstop by Anzaldo. That ball kind of carried her towards the outfield grass. Only had 1 play. That was at third. But everybody's safe, and now the bases are loaded. 3 straight have reached now with 2 outs.
You said it, Brant. Great play by Anzaldo over at shortstop. This absolutely saves a run. And Bruni is lucky that she wasn't caught rounding third base there because that throw was right on the money and she almost came off the bag rounding third. I don't think she was quite anticipating, 1, Anzaldo to stop that ball, and 2, if she did, it would be coming her way.
Well, now Morgan Howe, who homered off of Archer in her first at-bat, a chance to really widen the gap here. It has the early lead in the at-bat, a ball to no strikes. Bases juiced, 2 down. That gets away for the catcher Gland, and scoring from third base. Anna Marie Bruni extends the lead to 3-0 Smoke.
Bruni using that speed again to her advantage. Gland just unable to secure this pitch from Archer.
So every runner advances well. As you said, tough play there for Reagan Glanz. 3-0. 2-0 the count to Howe. Espinosa now at second, Denver Bryant at third. And that misses in 3-0. By the way, speaking of Bryant over at third base, understand it is her birthday today. So happy birthday, Denver Bryant.
No better place to spend your birthday if you love the sport and you continue to play it professionally after college. Sounds like a dang good birthday to me.
I'd imagine many of your birthdays were spent somewhere in the softball field or batting cages.
Yes and no. I am a September birthday, so travel ball was definitely around in the fall. But in college, it was always right before the start of fall season. So I kind of got lucky some years I didn't, but it was always around and a part of my life.
Many a birthday of mine spent with a headset on.
I bet. You're in season all year round.
That ball hit towards center, and that's going to drop for a base hit. The birthday girl Bryant scores right behind her Espinosa. A 2-run base hit for Howe. And they have widened the gap. The Smoke now leading 5-0.
What a great effort from Rylan Wiggins over at second base. Does everything she can, going backwards just over the tip of her glove. But the fact that there's 2 outs means that Espinoza and Bryant don't have to hold up to make sure it drops. And as a result, just a well-placed bloop from Morgan Howe, and she's done it again and put her team in front by 2 more runs.
Well, a lot of the damage for this Smoke team comes with 2 outs. We talked about this yesterday. In one of the games against Hub City last week, the 14-0 run rule in Game 2 on Friday, of the 14 runs that the Smoke scored in, mind you, just 4 innings at the plate, 13 scored with 2 outs.
That's so defeating as a defense because you feel like you're so close to getting out of the inning and you just can't seem to stop the bleeding. It's just, not only are you down a lot of runs if they're putting up 13 against you, but there's just something different about 2-out runs that feel like they're harder to overcome.
And remember, Haley Archer retired the first 2 batters of this inning. A couple of ground ball outs. After that, an infield base hit, a walk, another single, and now a 2-run single. This after a pass ball, also bringing in a run. And all 3 runs in this inning have scored with 2 down. Jazz Hill the batter with Morgan Howe at first base. High for ball 3. And so now the last 2+ innings at the plate for this offense, they've put up 12 runs without Jefferson or Jaquish.
Impressive. There's a reason why they've won 8 in a row and are sitting at the top of the league.
A walk to Hill on 4 pitches. This will lead to a circle visit here for the Tidal Wave. Have seen some activity in the pen. Believe I saw Cassie Valdez, yesterday's starter, getting loose. Now we'll see if the Tidal Wave stick here with Archer. At one point, Archer, as you look at Valdez continuing to throw, at one point Archer retired 5 in a row. Go back to the first inning, after the homer given up to Howe, retired Hill, Eccles, and Mason in order, then got Cody and Perez to start this inning. But since then, 5 in a row have reached. 2 on, 2 out, and a big bat up at the plate now in Charlotte Eccles. Eccles popped up at her first at-bat, facing Archer for the second time. And there for a strike, and it's 0-1.
I like that change of pace from Archer, especially after giving up a walk. A lot of hitters looking to be patient, make sure you can throw a strike, and starting off with a changeup really can throw off the timing of the hitter. Just like that, she goes back to the hard stuff. Catches Charlotte Eccles off timing, and now she's ahead 0-2.
No balls, 2 strikes. Eccles with a swing and a drive. Left center field, and that is gone. 3-run bomb, Charlotte Eccles. And the 2-out explosion continues for the Texas Smoke.
Charlotte Eccles, my goodness, an 0-2 count, just gets a pitch up over the heart of the plate and absolutely destroys it again in that left center alley we've talked about all night long. Just belt high, right over the heart of the plate. No doubt that that one was gone right away. Clears the pavilion out in left center field. The ball is just really, really, really carrying tonight.
And the Smoke now on top, 8-0, a 6-run second inning.
Next to bat number 5, Elizabeth Mason.
Ninth batter of the second here, Elizabeth Mason. Takes strike 1. So for the Smoke, a couple of homers in this game. A 2-run shot from Morgan Howe, a 3-run bomb from Charlotte Eccles. Big reason why the Smoke on top 8-0. They hit 6 homers last week of the series against Hub City. The Smoke in last night's series opener got the 1 home run from Howe in the 6th inning. And playing a lot of long ball already here in game 2. A ball to strike to Mason with nobody on. It's 2 balls and a strike.
It just feels like the Smoke to me are so difficult to put away with 2 outs because their approach never changes. You know, whether they're down in the count with no outs or up in the count with 2 outs, they seem equally calm, equally composed, and every time their hitters swing the bat, they swing to do damage.
Two to Mason. And the pitch, that ball belted left field. Back-to-back bombs for the Texas Smoke. And the former Florida State star goes deep. 9-0 Texas Smoke.
Elizabeth Mason almost giving us a carbon copy of the Charlotte Eccles home run. 2-2 count. Gets another pitch elevated. It's over the heart of the plate. Smoke's having a great time. Just absolutely crushes it. Perfectly on time. Again, clearing that canopy out in left center field.
Boy, it was like she and Eccles target practice, both
I
trying to
know.
hit at the same spot.
They had to be within 3 feet of each other in terms of where they landed.
And now the Smoke have batted around 7 runs in the inning. The 3rd consecutive game, 3 in a row, the Smoke have scored at least 7 runs in 1/2 inning.
The opposing teams in this league, the Monarchs, the Adelitas, the Costa Bend Tidal Wave, they're going to have to find a way to eliminate those big innings. Because, yes, big innings are a lot of runs to score against, but they just take all of the wind out of your sails. You have to find a way to stop the bleeding at some point, especially with 2 outs. You can't give up run after run after run with 2 outs without finding a way to answer back.
Jada Cody batting right now. Count 2-0. So many times in this inning, Archer 1 pitch away from sending us into the 3rd. All 7 runs scoring with 2 outs. And when the 2nd out was recorded, there was nobody on base. 3-0 to Cody. That's ball 4. And the inning will continue. Back to Mason to the home run. She was a key part of Florida State's run of the national title in 2018. One of the best hitters in FSU's rich history. Top 10 in Seminole history in homers with 32. And again, went deep moments ago. And now Bryant currently on the staff at UTA and the Mavericks out of the WAC.
I just love watching Elizabeth Mason swing the bat. Her at-bats are just so easy to watch. I mean, it's textbook. She hits the ball so hard. She's always so composed. And when you hit bombs out of the yard like she just did following Charlotte Eccles, how can you not like to watch that?
A look at the pen right now for Coastal Bend. Not much activity with Archer laboring a bit into the circle. Been a long half inning here. 10th batter she's faced, Manny Perez, the DH. Earlier in the inning, grounded outs. Caught a ball and a strike to the player out of Poway, California. And her first U of the Smoke, Manny Perez. Grounds that off for herself, and it's 1-2. Mentioned Mason on the coaching staff at UTA for Perez, an assistant currently at Quinnipiac. Great college player at Arizona State. A ball and 2 strikes, and Perez takes strike 3. And that the first strikeout of the night for Haley Archer, but what an inning for the Texas Smoke. They put up 7 runs. They homered twice. Back-to-back homers from Eccles and Mason, but a strikeout ends the frame, and we go to the third. All Smoke on top in Game 2 of the series, 9-0 over the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave. We head to the top of the third inning. And it has been a tough night so far for Blake Miller's team. Again, you look back at the series opener last night, and the Tidal Wave for Coach Miller playing really well. Carried a 1-0 lead into the sixth inning, had a chance to expand upon that 1-0 lead, loaded the bases in the sixth inning, but Jessica Mullins got the Smoke out of the jam, and then at the bottom of the inning, the Smoke exploded for 7 runs. Well, a 7-run frame just happened again at the bottom of the second as the Smoke have staked a 9-0 lead. We go to the third, and Jayla Wright and company cruising here in Game 2 of this 4-game series. Leading off in the third for the Tidal Wave is Reagan Glanz, Coastal Bend's catcher out of Aberdeen, Washington. Just wrapped up her playing career in the Sun Belt at Marshall. She was catcher and DH for the Thundering Herd. Grounded foul for strike one. Before that, Glanz was a Division II star at Francis Marion University. We think about the journey for Glanz a couple years ago, playing in the D2 ranks. Fast forward to 2024, you're playing pro softball with some of the best in the country.
We talked about this a little bit in our earlier broadcasts of the Monarchs and the Adelitas, but what I love about the WPF leagues, when you look at the rosters of these athletes, it's not majority Power 5 kids. It's mid-majors, stories like Reagan Glanz from less than Division I, making their way up. You don't have to go to a huge school with a big name if you want to have a great career and play professional softball. But you do have to understand as an athlete what you want out of your college experience. Do you want to go be a part of a big name program, maybe have a chance to win a national championship but not be an everyday player? Okay, then go to an Oklahoma, go to a Texas. If you're not the absolute best of the athletes, but if you want to go play every day, be a part of a family, win a conference championship, go to the NCAA tournament, there's so many other programs outside of the Power 5 that give you those opportunities.
You know, last night, starting pitcher for Coastal Bend, Cassie Valdez, now began her career, yes, here at Texas State 2 seasons, but then transferred to Our Lady of the Lake, an NAIA program, and was an All-American there. And now here she is playing pro softball as well, as that ball hit well to left, and that's in for a base hit down the line for Glanz. A leadoff single. First time the leadoff batter has reached for the Tidal Wave in this game. You know, but back to Valdez. You know, last night she was great in her start. 4 innings, no runs given up against this Smoke lineup.
And that's what's so special in my eyes about this sport is the game doesn't know if you're a Division I All-American or if you tried D1, didn't work out for whatever reason, you ended up at an NAIA, and here you are competing against the best of the best still playing the sport with girls that are vying for spots on the Olympic roster. you can go out there on any given day with your best stuff and beat anyone if you work hard at it and you have the confidence that you have what it takes.
After the leadoff base hit from Reagan Glanz, it's Malaysia Ochoa. One of the great players in the history of Iowa State Cyclone softball. Fouled away, 1 ball and 1 strike. Ochoa, one of 6 Cyclones ever to record more than 200 career hits. Had 17 doubles this past year for Iowa State, among the most in a single season in Cyclones history. You think Big 12 softball, and immediately it's Texas and OU. That will no longer be the case moving forward, but I digress. Then you think a little bit, about Baylor and certainly Oklahoma State. You don't hear a lot about Iowa State, but the Cyclones do have a really good program.
They do, and you're right. You don't hear a lot about it often. And maybe it's kind of a Midwest thing, because I would also argue you don't hear a ton about Nebraska or Minnesota as much. Nebraska was much more of a popular name as of late with the transfer of Jordy Ball, who unfortunately tore ACL opening weekend this past season and was unavailable, which she should be available again, for spring of 2025. But it is interesting, the storied programs like the Texas, the Oklahoma State that continuously make it to the Women's College World Series and are on that national stage definitely get more of the limelight. But it doesn't mean that there's not other competitive Big 12 programs like Iowa State.
That's the 3rd strikeout of the night for Jalen Wright, as Ochoa goes down fishing. Back to the top of the tidal wave order to Grace Chelleman. A 9-0 lead for the Smoke after scoring 7 runs in the 2nd inning, all with 2 outs. Strike 1 to Chelleman. Began her career at Michigan, 1 year in Ann Arbor, and then 4 years at Marshall. The bulk of those years in Conference USA, her final year in the Sun Belt. And now meeting the circle here for the Smoke as Chelleman awaits the next pitch. Last year at Marshall and Huntington, West Virginia, hit .377. Drove in 55 runs for a team that won 45 games that year. And Chelleman currently still in the Sun Belt on the coaching staff at Southern Miss. A graduate manager for the Golden Eagles this past year. We've talked a lot about mid-majors and how well represented they are in the WPF. Of course, when it comes to the mid-major conferences, the one that you and I are most familiar with, the Sun Belt Conference, which, as far as mid-major conferences go, among the best, if not the best, non-P5 in the nation.
I'm very curious with the exit of Jerry Glasgow from Louisiana, what the Sun Belt softball landscape is going to look like next year. Obviously, Texas State is going to be a contender, as they always have been. Louisiana, I have no doubt, is going to be a good team, but I think there's going to be some question marks from the softball world with what's it going to look like without Jerry at the helm. Then you've got schools like JMU, South Alabama, Marshall, Southern Miss. There's no sleeper team in the Sun Belt anymore. And I'm just excited to see how it all plays out. But you're very right. I would argue that the Sun Belt is one of the best, if not the best, non-Power 5 conferences in softball, especially when you look at the way the RPI ranked out and the number of at-large bids they received this past season.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Chelleman. Runner at first base and 1 away. You mentioned that, for Louisiana, question mark. Jerry Glasgow now taking over at Texas Tech. But if you recall when Coach Glasgow took over at Louisiana, that was after the great tenure didn't end very well for Michael Lateef. And really, the foundation was just so strong at Lafayette, the transition was seamless.
Well, there's no doubt that Louisiana staff and Louisiana fans expect a high caliber coach to come in and build off of the past success from Jerry Glasgow and Mike Lateef.
By the way, that was a strikeout. But because first base was occupied, Chellerman can't just take it. So she's out. That is the second straight strikeout for Jayla Wright. 2 down of the inning. But now over to second base, Reagan Glanz. Look back at the play here.
Jayla Wright's drop ball just has so much movement. Cody behind the plate unable to keep that one in front of her, which allows Glanz to scoot up to second base. But as you mentioned, since first base was occupied, it still goes down as a strikeout. That's the second time that Chellerman has struck out on the drop ball of Jayla Wright.
Here's Tate Whitley. Count is 0-1 to Whitley out of Angleton, Texas. Played her college softball in the SEC at Ole Miss. And during her time at Oxford, played in the NCAA tournament each of her 5 seasons. We're not counting the 2020 COVID-shortened year. And she played a lot of softball as a Rebel, 237 starts, 3rd most in team history. As Chellerman is back into the game as a pinch runner here for Reagan Glanz to allow Glanz a chance to get her gear back on to play catcher in the bottom of the inning. And not only did Whitley start a lot of games, I mean, she was a really good player. A career .342 hitter in Oxford with Ole Miss, 5th highest batting average in team history. Puts a bunt down. That's a foul ball, though. And that's going to bring Whitley back to the plate.
The birthday girl, Denver Bryan, at shortstop didn't like that foul ball call. Could hear her all the way up here in the booth, making her teammates laugh. That's what's so fun to me about watching these professional athletes continue to play. They just are enjoying life, you know. Playing the game at this point, it's not something you have to do. It's something they get to do. And I think a lot of these athletes, while this experience isn't perfect, nothing in life is. And yes, could we ask for more fans and maybe more resources, whatever it may be, right? Yes, but they're still just enjoying the opportunity that they have.
Well, good news, Denver. That was a fair ball. Plays made at first base. After the leadoff base hit, no damage done by Coastal Bend. We head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. It is all Texas Smoke leading Coastal Bend 9-0. Let's take you back to the 2nd inning when the Texas Smoke scored 7 runs, some big hits in the inning to include a 2-run single from Morgan Howe, part of a 4 RBI night. Then later, Charla Eccles a 3-run bomb to left center. Right after that, Elizabeth Mason made it back-to-back jacks. A solo shot to the same spot Eccles hit her 3-run bomb. All big swings as part of that 7-run seconds. And the Texas Smoke team in command on top 9-0 as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. And again, what was so impressive about that inning, among so many other things, was the fact that all 7 runs scored with 2 outs. And again, if you remember, the second out was recorded with nobody on base. It was an infield single by Anna Marie Bruni, perfectly placed in the infield, that extended the inning initially. And then Denver Bryant got ahead, 3 balls and no strikes. She swung at the next 2 pitches but still walked on ball 4, and then it all picked up from there.
Just feels like the smoke can't be put away. They're so pesky, for lack of a better word, and they don't care if they have no outs and the bases loaded or 2 outs and nobody on. They're just going to keep swinging, and when they get an opportunity in the box, they're going to do some damage with it.
Haley Archer back in the circle after that tough second. She did end the inning with a strikeout. Facing Anna Marie Bruni. And behind in the count, 0-1.
You have to imagine here that the leash is short for Haley Archer after the inning that she suffered through in the last bottom half of the second.
No balls and 2 strikes earlier today. The Texas Monarchs a 9-5 win over the Hub City Adelitas. And that series now even 1 game apiece. Monarchs back over 500, now 7-6. Hub City falls to 3-10 as Bruni strikes out. It's now back-to-back punch outs for Archer.
Nice drop ball from Haley Archer. Got to have a short memory if you want to be successful in this game. That's exactly what Haley Archer does. Goes to the drop ball. Never a strike through the zone, but with 2 strikes, Anna Marie Bruni is just a little too antsy to protect the plate, and Haley Archer gets her swinging.
Now facing Denver Bryants. Pumps to the strike, 0-1. The Monarchs homered 3 times themselves in the win earlier today. Sarah Vanderford, Susie Brookshire each a 2-run homer. Lily Piper is part of a 3-hit game and a solo shot of her own. Yeah, the winning pitcher, Jaden Vickers, a complete game victory. A lot of trouble for her early in the game. Gave up 4 runs in the first 2 innings, but then settled in and picked up the win. She now has a couple of those in this ballpark this season. And Jaden Vickers still the only pitcher to beat the Texas Smoke this year. That ball line foul. I think right towards the team owner, Brandon Phillips. Yeah, it was right to him.
Did he catch it? He's got 2 balls there, but I don't know if he caught it.
He does have 2 souvenirs. I don't know if he made that play. But he made a lot in his big league career, as we talked about earlier.
How cool is it that after all the success he had in the MLB, he could have easily chose to invest in baseball and, you know, give back to that sport, but he decided, you know what, I'm going to invest in women's sports and see what I can do and play my part to help grow the game of softball.
Of course, his wife also a female athlete, a WWE superstar, still very much active, one of the top superstars in the company. 2-2. That's a miss and fills the count to Bryant, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
That was a tough pitch to take. I thought that was going to be strike 3.
Full count pitch to Bryant from Archer. Hit back up the middle. And Wiggins from second takes care of it. 2 down here in the 3rd inning.
Haley Archer again picking up 2 pretty quick outs here in the bottom of the 3rd. You know she's definitely looking for out number 3 in the same fashion right now, to not want to have a repeat of what happened in the bottom of the 2nd.
Espinosa's been on twice. She has scored twice. She's been a thorn in the Tidal Wave side of this series. Espinosa in her 2nd year in the league, her 1st year with this franchise. Was named All-League a year ago. Playing for the USSSA Pride. I'm now saying it the way that Bill wanted to say it yesterday. I've been told by producer Victoria Heim that is the preferred way to allude to that franchise.
That's always the way that I've heard it referred to.
So I was just butchering it forever.
Which is not obvious, for the record, in your defense when you're reading it.
Little pop up, and it's gloved by Wiggins, and there is a 1-2-3 frame for Haley Archer. After the 7-run frame of the 2nd, retires the Smoke in order in the third. We have played 3. Smoke looking to go up 2-0 in the series and to pick up their 9th straight win. Well, they lead 9-0 here at Texas State's Bobcat Softball Stadium. A look at some of the fans in attendance enjoying a cold beverage on this warm Friday night. Just past the 8 o'clock hour here in Texas. Those fans there not old enough to enjoy some cold beverages on this warm Friday night. That gentleman is Peter Vives. Talk about him at length. Photographer here at Texas State. Has also been serving as a photog here at the WPF. Talked about UTA earlier. Elizabeth Mason, part of that staff. Their look at the Mavericks logo in the stands. We go to the 4th inning. It is a 9-0 lead for the Texas Smoke over the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave.
I believe that was Kara Dill, head coach of the UTA Mavericks, actually in the stands.
I believe you're right. Took over as UTA head coach, was it 2 years ago now? Last year?
I think it was 2 years ago.
I believe it was 2 years ago. Overseeing UTA's, speaking of realignment, move from the Sun Belt to the WAC. Tatum Monzano leading off here in the 4th inning for the Tidal Wave. It was 2 years ago.
She took over on July 8th of 2022.
You know, I thought I saw her as well when Mason was at the plate last, getting up real close near home plate to take a picture, and the lo and behold, Mason, her assistant, hits a home run.
You're right.
And that was a no-doubter. Fly ball to left, right to Jazz Hill. Comes in and makes a catch, retires on Zondo, who's 0 for 2.
Looks like she's limping a little bit coming off the field. Hope she's all right.
Really cool, by the way, to see a head coach come out and support an assistant as they resume their playing career, right?
That's super awesome. Says a lot about just the support she has for her assistants and, I presume, her players' passions. And if you think about it, too, if you're a college coach in summertime, she's probably got to go recruiting tomorrow or this weekend somewhere. So the fact that she's taking time out of her busy schedule to come support her assistants is pretty special.
One would think a bulk of the recruiting for UTA would be within the state, so it doesn't have to travel far to make a pit stop here in San Marcos. You know, speaking of recruiting Texas, you look at Coastal Bend's roster, and the majority of it is made up of players from both Texas and California. 12 combined players from those two states, 6 each. And those 12 players from those two states represent 63% of the roster, as Trinity Cannon able to get a base hit here with 1 out.
Texas and California are both, I would argue, the top hot spots in terms of softball talent across the country when you think about travel ball. Super hard hit shot by Trinity Cannon through the 5-6 hole, as we take another look at that as well. But I'm not surprised that majority of the athletes are originally from either Texas or California, just because A, the states are massive, and B, there's tons of travelable organizations in both Texas and California. Not to say that other states don't have their powerhouses, but it just seems like there's a much more concentrated pocket of athletes, probably again because of the size of the states.
Now the batter, Kelly Lynn, shot for the single, hit by Trinity Cannon over at first base. Again, we've talked about this. Every player's jersey number they own for very special, unique reasons. Talked about Jenna Keene for the Monarchs, the reason why she wears hers. The number 64, very unique. Of course, it's in honor of the station that she drives an ambulance for. Well, the runner at first base, Trinity Cannon, her number 6, very near and dear to her heart as well. Cannon from Forney, Texas, has worn the number 6 for a long time. It is in honor of her best friend, Emily Galliano, who passed away when Cannon was in high school. Shortly after that tragic loss, Cannon led her high school team to a state title, a very emotional run for her at the time, and still wears a number 6 to this day.
I actually played 1 year at Texas State with another girl who went to high school at Forney that was on the same team where the tragedy happened with Emily, and that was another thing that was very near and dear to my old teammates' heart as well. Super, super sad story, but I love to see that Trinity is continuing to carry on that legacy and just make sure that, you know, she's not forgotten. Keep her friend close to her.
Swing and a miss by Lynch, down on strikes. Strikeout number 5 for Jayla Wright. 2 down here in the 4th inning.
This drop ball changeup combination that Jayla Wright has just been so deadly. She tunnels those 2 pitches so well. It's hard to tell when they're coming out from the same release point what's faster and what's slower. Either way, they're both dropping off the table, and they're super hard to square up. Jayla Wright just dicing up these Coastal Bend tidal wave hitters all night long.
Runner on, 2 outs for Julie Jimenez. 9-0 Smoke on top here in the 4th inning. Swing and a miss, strike 1. And the Smoke again have won 8 in a row, and during this 8-game winning streak, 4 of those have been run rule victories, and they're in that territory right now. They swept their 3-game series last week against Hub City. The first 2 of those wins, run rules, 11-0 last Thursday, 14-0 last Friday. Now, after Smoke games, there's usually a fireworks show. If the game ends early, I mean, the sun is still a ways away from setting here.
True.
So the fans are going to have to hang out for a little bit, if that all comes to happen.
Yes. I would imagine, though, they've probably already got it quite set up out there. Maybe they can save it for tomorrow if it's not dark enough. I'm not a firework expert, so I'm not going to assume or comment too deeply. That was not my job during the 4th of July festivities. That just happened.
Yeah, I think when last week happened, the July 4th game, Bill and I got in the conversation about how did you celebrate? Was it, going to a city fireworks show and watching, or setting off your own? I told him I grew up in a rural area. We set off our own fireworks, but now I'm very much in the suburbs, and no, I don't do that. Others certainly do, though, in the suburbs, which they shouldn't be.
Well, and I feel like it's been so hot in this area for so many years in the summer that you haven't been allowed to set off your own fireworks in a lot of cases.
Yeah, a lot of fireworks bans here in Texas. That's right. Too dry.
Yeah. Growing up, we always spent 4th of July on the lake, and we would watch the fireworks show on the boat on the lake, so that was always fun.
Full count to Jimenez, a strikeout victim of Wright's, back in the 2nd. Runner at first base, Trinity Cannon. Tidal Wave trying to get some offense going. It's been hard to come by. In their 2 games against the Smoke, just 1 run scored so far in the series. Came with a homer yesterday from Monzaldo. That ball well hit, right center field, and that's caught on the run by Anna Marie Bruni. What a catch by Bruni, robbing Jimenez of a base hit. And some great outfield defense preserves a shutout for the Texas Smoke.
What a grab. Bruni on it the whole way, times it perfectly.
And with that, we go to the bottom of the fourth inning. It is all Smoke tonight here in San Marcos. We're back after this. Look back at Morgan Howe in the first inning. A two-run homer really set the tone for this game. For Morgan Howe, homering for the second time in his many days. Homer to the sixth inning. Last night, homers in the first inning today. Part of a 4 RBI night for Howe. She and the Smoke on top 9-0 as we travel to the bottom of the fourth inning.
It's been all Texas Smoke so far, led first and foremost by Jayla Wright in the circle. Deadly drop ball changeup combination, and then Morgan Howe, as you said, got it started early and often for the Smoke. 7 runs in the second, coming with 2 outs. Looking to extend their lead and really kind of shore up that run rule opportunity here tonight.
Yeah, the Smoke, any team needs an 8-run lead after 5. Got a 9-run lead right now. If they can pad on to that, it secures or it amplifies the chances the Smoke could do such a thing. And they got a good part of the order coming up, although to be fair, really 1 through 9 is a good part of the order for the reigning champs. It's Morgan Howe, Jazz Hill, and Charlotte Eccles here in the fourth inning, due up to face off against Haley Archer. To Archer's credit, after giving up the back-to-back homers to Eccles and Mason in the second, she has since retired 4 of the last 5 batters she's faced.
Yeah, to be honest, Brant, I was a little bit shocked to see her come out again in the bottom of the third, but to her credit, she went right at Anna Marie Bruni, who at the end of last inning just made a phenomenal catch in center field. And she just picked up like the 7 runs never happened, which as a pitcher, that's all you can ask for as a coach.
One ball, one strike to Morgan Howe. Another doubleheader on deck tomorrow, 4 o'clock start time for the first game, followed by game 2 at 7. But again, all 4 teams here in San Marcos this week. The only time it's happening in the WPF this season. Top of the zone. 1-2 here to Morgan Howe. Split her college career, 2 years in Fresno at Fresno State, couple of years in Tempe at Arizona State. And was a first-team All-American her final year as a Sun Devil. 1-2. And a painful foul ball there for Morgan Howe.
That never, ever feels good.
Gave it the old thumbs down there afterwards.
At least she has a sense of humor about it.
You play the game as long as Howe has, and now going on 20 years. I'm sure she's fouled the ball off herself a few times.
Yeah, there's probably a couple spots in that front shin that maybe are a little bit lumpy after foul tips like that. They don't feel good, and contrary to what people might believe, the softball's not soft.
Nice pitch from Archer. Howe goes down looking. That is the third strikeout for Archer. One away here in the fourth inning.
Nice location from Archer there. Howe didn't like the call. Can't believe it. But I thought it was a great location from Archer right on the corner. Gets her looking.
One out. And now to the plate, Jazz Hill looks at ball one. Yeah, Morgan Howe mentioned playing the game for about 20 years. First started playing at the age of 7 with the Mira Mesa Girls Softball League.
Those are the good old days. And I
You
think
hear some, I'm sorry to cut you off, Haley. You hear some players, say with this game it was love at first sight. Always wanted a bat in their hands. Started playing t-ball at 3 years old or something like that. For others, it takes, some time to find that moment of when they first fell in love, with the game. For you, how long did it take to build that loving relationship?
Well, how the story's always gone is before I was old enough to play t-ball, I was playing soccer, but I could see t-ball from the soccer fields. And I did not care about soccer. I was just dead set focused on t-ball, and I kept bugging my parents, I want to do that, I want to do that, but I wasn't old enough. And I would just walk by the field and sit there and cry when they told me we had to go home. So in a weird way, it was almost like softball kind of picked me, because I can never remember a time where it wasn't what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I tried all the other sports, gymnastics, volleyball, basketball, soccer, and I enjoyed them. I've always loved competition, but there was nothing that made me get out of bed or stay out in the yard late at night the way that softball did. So it was just something I feel like that was put on my heart from a young age. Mm-hmm. And I always loved competing. And what's funny is growing up, I was not good at it at all as a kid. I was a little bit awkward. It took me a long time to figure out how to use my body, how to do a lot of strength and conditioning to kind of figure it out. But that love is what kept me going. And the relationships. I mean, even to this day, so much of my inner circle is tied in one way or another to the sport of softball.
Ground ball from Hill, handled by Wiggins. 2 outs in the fourth inning. Megan Archer has now sat down 6 straights. And 2 outs will bring up Charlotte Eccles with the bases empty.
Next about number 4, Charlotte Eccles.
A rematch between these two franchises. They met 2 weeks ago in Robstown, a 4-game series hosted by Coastal Bend. Smoke swept that series 4 games to none. Now, 2 of the wins were run rules, but the other 2 were tight competitive games, each decided by just 2 runs. Now, so far, 2 games into this series, it's been all smoke, with the exception of the first 5+ innings of last night's opener. That's in there for strike 1 and 1. They have outscored the Tidal Wave so far in the series 16-1.
I'm really impressed by Haley Archer's approach after giving up 7 runs with 2 outs in the bottom of the second. It's truly like that was wiped from her memory. She's come back out ever since. You just said retired 6 in a row, hitting great spots, not hesitating to attack these hitters. Picks up another 1-2-3 inning right there.
Eccles lines out to Chellerman in right field, and we go to the top of the 5th inning. The Tidal Wave have 3 outs to score a couple of runs. They trail 9-0 with the Smoke playing for a run rule here tonight in San Marcos. All Texas Smoke on top here in Game 2 of the series, 9-0 in the circle. Jayla Wright has pumped in 4 scoreless innings along the way. She has struck out 5. And this year's ACC Pitcher of the Year dealing here today. So her last 2 appearances in this ballpark, she has gone 7 innings and has struck out 10 batters. And now in position to get the win with her team on top 9-0 and 3 outs away from a potential run rule here tonight.
Jayla Wright's drop ball changeup combination has just been deadly tonight. You look back at that strikeout package, at almost every single strikeout, these hitters are just chasing balls completely out of the zone. But it's because the downspin of Jayla Wright is so deceptive that they think they're strikes, and they're moving, the pitches are moving so much and so late in the zone that the hitters can't hold up. And then you mix that deadly downspin with an off speed as well that's also tunneled, so you can't decipher if it's hard or it's soft. Just deadly.
Rylan Wiggins leads off the 5th inning here for the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave. Ground ball to short. Bryant's, and there's 1 away here in the 5th inning on a bang-bang play at first base.
The one thing that has surprised me about these Coastal Bend hitters is they haven't made a physical adjustment in the box. And I talked about this a little bit earlier in the broadcast, but typically when you're facing a drop ball pitcher, you either want to scoot up in the box and try to catch it before it breaks and force the pitcher to make an adjustment of when they're dropping that pitch off the table, or you want to scoot back and try to get something higher in the zone and lay off of it. But time and time again, we've seen these Coastal Bend hitters just kind of stay in the middle and play into Jayla Wright's plan. Fly
ball hit by Glanz, handled by Morgan Howe. And now this game is down to its final out.
That fly out from Reagan Glanz might be the best piece of contact we've seen so far off of Jayla Wright, except for Julia Jimenez's line drive out into right center, which was hauled in by Bruni in a phenomenal catch. But other than that, almost every single out has been either a strikeout or a pretty routine ground ball.
Now Malaysia Ochoa. Nobody on, 2 away, right back to Wrights, and another run rule victory for the Texas Smoke as they beat the Tidal Wave in dominant fashion, 9-0, 5 scoreless innings from Jayla Wright. Plenty of offense along the way, and that's now 9 wins in a row for the reigning champs.
When you put great pitching and timely hitting together, it's a tough combination to beat, and that's exactly what the Smoke did here tonight. Jayla Wright came out from pitch number 1, commanded in the circle. Morgan Howe had her back right away, putting up 2 runs via the home run in the bottom of the 1st, and the Smoke never looked back.
Well, our player of the game, those honors go to Charla Eccles. A 7-run 2nd inning for the Smoke, highlighted by Eccles' 3-run massive shot to left center field going opposite way. One of 2 homers, make it 3 homers in the game, hit by the Texas Smoke. Eccles driving in 3 with 1 swing. Tonight's player of the game as the Smoke win it in a run rule by a final score of 9-0. Haley, looking forward to another doubleheader of softball tomorrow.
Both the Smoke and the Monarchs picking up victories. The Adelitas and the Tidal Wave going to have to look to make some adjustments and come back ready to go again tomorrow for Game 3 of the series.
Well, that's going to wrap up our coverage of the WPF today. For Haley McKay, I'm Brent Freeman saying so long from San Marcos, Texas. The final score in a 5-inning run rule. The Texas Smoke 9, Coastal Bend nothing. For more information, log on to WProFastPitch.com. This has been a presentation of the WPF. Until next time, good night from Bobcat Softball Stadium.